Falling Lights was a different kind of story when I first started writing it. It was basically about this biologist or this, I would say, student who studied biology. And his whole thing was that he wanted to pursue that. He messed up in college. It was a whole weird dynamic movie that I was writing. And he was supposed to go out in the woods and come across extraterrestrial life forms. The more I went to writing it, it just became more complicated and it almost demotivated me from making it. So I had to rewrite that story and come up with something else. Falling Lights went through like 2 to 3 rewrites in its journey because I was trying to find that, like every other director and writer, they wanted to find that perfect story. And as I'm writing this, I am like talking about it with my friends, trying to see like what works, but I'm also trying to keep it under the table so that way like no one can guess what the story is about. And it was kind of a very educational journey because it taught me how to write a better story. It taught me to create characters' backgrounds and really focus on the settings I was shooting, like the locations I was looking at and other things that, mattered in a movie. Halfway through filming Falling Lights, I was talking to my buddy Dom about possibly connecting the story to his Bunkerverse film. We came up with these nice little details on how we could connect the movies, but then it came down to me really thinking deep on, do I want this to be my own project or do I want this to be part of his universe? And he respected both decisions. He was, all for trying to make either or work, but it was more or less, what did I want? And so I decided to keep Falling Lights its own standalone film, connected to nothing. It was interesting because all of the scenes that we filmed in Falling Lights would have connected to Bunkerverse one way or another if I just slightly tweaked a certain scene or two. And at the end of the day, I'm really grateful to have this film turn out the way it did because it really has my own twist and like aesthetic to it. Falling Lights didn't really have an established lore to begin with. It was a very simple apocalyptic film that I wanted to create with my friend Jared. And even the aliens' names, we were trying to come up with something, I guess, different. Like we were looking into indigenous backgrounds on like how to translate certain words because he has an indigenous background. He's connected to some kind of tribe. I wish I remember the name, but it was really interesting to learn about Jared's background and how he wanted to implement some of that into this lore, but we tried our best to translate certain things and it just couldn't work out and it just didn't roll off your tongue when you try to like say certain things. This will be mentioned probably further into the lore, but what I established for the aliens is that they would be called echoes. That's what I wanted to bring to the film, but I just, during certain time restraints and filming complications, with our surroundings, it just didn't work out, which is fine because it doesn't change really much of the film. It's actually kind of nice to leave that piece out and leave more room for creativity down the line. I started writing more lore on how humans behaved after the invasion because I know I left a little cliffhanger off with the Eastern Front, and I wanted to kind of give the subtle hope that there's kind of heroes out there. There's people out there who want to fight against these aliens, and at the end of the day, it comes down to who's gonna trust who. And with our main character, Noah, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see on what side he's gonna fall on because at the end of the film, he wants to be this heroic figure. And we have to see further down the line if he's gonna be this heroic figure or if he's gonna end up having some, let's say blood on his hands. And that's something we would have to look forward to. Getting into the props of this film was kind of easy when it came to the wardrobe. I wanted to go more of a creative approach with the leather jacket look. It was actually inspired by Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park 3 because I really liked his outfit in that, and I wanted to kind of create a, subtle twist of my own with that. If anyone caught that, that would be pretty great because that was my original intention with that character. And Jared wanted to go more simplistic. He wanted to go with an all black look, which to me didn't look entirely apocalyptic, but I was like, you know what, that's your look. And I like that he put his own signature on it, because that's something I really admired from him when he was working with me on this film. And when it came to the alien, it was hard because I had a very simple mask I found on Amazon. When I received the mask and I started testing it out with the costume design, and I started to realize this does not look good at all. And then I started looking into alien masks and came across the one that you see in the film. You don't get a clear look on what the alien looks like, which is something I tried to avoid as much as I can. With these behind the scenes, you get to see what the alien mask actually looked like. You know, it was in pretty good detail. I'm a little ashamed I didn't use that mask a bit more, but you know what? It turned out the way it did, and I'm still happy with the results that the film ended up with. With the baseball bat, I ordered it and I thought it was gonna be like this dark brown wood, but it ended up being this birch wood look texture, and it was definitely not pleasing to look at. And I was like, crap, I'm gonna have to get a little creative with this. So I hopped over to Lowe's, grabbed brown paint, and just started painting it. I started adding my own little like scratches, bumps, you know, at certain points in the filming, I was like beating the bat against a tree to look like, you know, it went through some wear and tear. I like that I was able to get a little creative with my props because it was not an easy journey. I always came up with an answer whenever something would get in my way, which is something I really am proud of because I'm not a huge problem solver. I really like to try to come up with like a solution as fast as possible to make the production go as smoothly as possible, and just making sure I'm not running into any delays. For the characters in the beginning, we just wanted to put them in normal clothes and throw on this like neon vest over them just to give them the idea that they came out of construction. Like that's kind of like their work life. Funny enough that me and Jared actually worked together outside of filming. We worked together at the same job, and that's how we actually first met. And it was really interesting. Jared did want to help with the film in terms of like buying certain props and certain makeup, which he did help buy the bone props that you do see in the film, which was very helpful for him. He also did purchase the vests, the neon vests that we wore in the beginning of the film, which was very nice of him. I really appreciated him like contributing to the film because I originally wanted to do it all myself, but he was like, dude, please let me help you. I want to do this for us, for the film. And you know, I was very grateful for him to help with that. Finding the makeup for this film was pretty easy because I already had all the essentials I needed, especially, you know, with certain scenes that had dirt on our faces. I used this black paint. It's a liquid paint that dries on your skin, and that's something I used. And for the blood, I had this small Halloween kit that I used, and it was really easy to apply the blood, apply like the black makeup. It was really simple to use, so it didn't create any complications during filming. If anything, it actually made the production look a little bit better, and I was able to apply the makeup myself. I thought about having someone apply the makeup for us, but I was like, I don't got time for that. I'm just gonna apply it myself. So it really worked out in the end. Along with, you know, other products that we had in the film, we had a drone, and with that drone, I wanted to make my cinematography a little bit more dynamic in terms of like, you know, instead of seeing your two dudes walking through the woods, I wanted to show just certain overhead shots, certain panning shots, you know, different shots you have to see than just the woods from a ground level perspective. At one point during filming, it was actually the first time we took out the drone to film, and I filmed for 15 minutes and the battery was about to die. The drone ended up trying to make its way back automatically without me controlling it, and that was a bad idea because I didn't release it in a good spot. And at some point, the drone crashed into a tree and fell down on this hard ice because we were near this body of water, and the drone fell on ice. And Jared's freaking out. He's like, oh my God, grab it. Or, is it good? Is it okay? Is the drone broken? And I was like, dude, I don't care about the drone. I care about getting the SD card. What I tried to do is I grabbed this big stick and I tried to like kind of push it towards me. I had Jared record me because, you know, it's just, you know, a little funny memory that we crashed the drone. And so I look happy picking it up, looking at it. It completely broke the camera. Like, it's definitely not usable anymore. But the SD card was usable and it was used in the film, as everyone saw. Jared felt really bad about that and ended up buying me a new drone, which was definitely something I was not telling him to do, but he was very kind and he really wanted me to have a new drone. And we used that new drone in the final shot of the film and at another part in the film during like the snowfall scenes. Other than that, it worked out. Everything worked out when it came to the drone shots. During the filming of Falling Lights, I also ran into certain time restraints and weather complications when it came to daylight savings, because we shot this film in early fall or like mid-fall, and basically throughout winter. Obviously with daylight savings, I got out of work around 12:30. He got out of work around 1:30. The sun sets at 4. It was very difficult trying to like get things done, but we worked fast. We tried to get the best we could within an hour and a half at most. We tried to reach the 2-hour mark, but sometimes it just didn't work out because you could tell the time of the day when it changes. I'm glad it didn't look weird in the film. Everything actually turned out the way it did. There was a small speed bump when it came to, do we want to film when it snows? And we did film scenes in the snow actually, but I cut it from the film because it was like 15 degrees out. Jared and Jose are out there with me. We're all trying to film. We're just having a bad time. It's not good, it's not fun. Like, I'm doing the best I can to, keep them comfortable and trying to make sure, like, is everyone okay? Are we, do we need to leave early? And do whatever we can to just not be out there very long, I guess. At some point during that filming process, Jose is wearing thermals underneath a skin-tight suit. He's not covered up at all. If I'm struggling with a cheap leather jacket, a shirt, thermals, and skinny jeans on, he's doing terrible. But I kept checking in on him to make sure he's okay, and he was saying, we're good, just keep going. And it is unfortunate that we never used that footage, but it just didn't look right. Also, Jared changed his hat in those scenes. We debated if we wanted me to wear a hat or a beanie in the scene. I decided to not go with it, but I'm really glad we decided to refilm those shots. At the end of the day, it just stood out kind of odd in the film, and I'm really happy with how things turned out. At some point during filming, Jared's wisdom teeth were coming in, and we were worried about if it was going to complicate the filming process. And so Jared decided to ignore that and keep filming going as scheduled. And obviously we played it safe. We didn't want to over push his limits because of this film. Like, this film to me was just a fun project I wanted to achieve with him, and he wanted to do the same. But he proceeded to keep pushing and keep acting, and it worked out in the end. At certain points in the film, you don't really notice it, but his face is kind of swelled up a little bit. Only people that know him would really notice those changes, and I think it's kind of a cool detail because you can't really tell in the film, but it ended up working out. I filmed this entire film with the Canon R50, and that camera is known to overheat. Now, for me to counter the overheating process, I had to turn off the camera every single time I used it so I could save battery and not let it overheat. And when I did that, I basically had a smooth sail filming process. It was really easy to basically just go about my day filming with Jared and Jose. The only time it was difficult filming was when we were trying to hide from the alien, and it was just, we weren't getting the best angles we needed, but at the end of the day, we shot what we shot and it turned out the way it did. A lot of people were saying that the R50 isn't capable of essentially what we did, and I, proved those people wrong, I guess, because to me the Canon R50 was a very doable camera to film a film with. It's just I wasn't too educated with the camera at the time. I mainly did photography with it, but I knew its video capabilities and I wanted to try to push that the best I can. My favorite scene in the film would have to be the ending. After Sean's death, Noah kind of grows as a person because he's kind of this vulnerable person in the film, and losing basically everything he loves, he then wants to really stand up for himself, or really he kind of like locks in and says like, I'm done hiding, I'm done trying to pretend like I'm surviving, but I'm really not. I'm just running away from my problems. And so he gives this speech at the end. It's kind of a hopeful speech, but it's not at the same time. It's just him expressing himself and throwing away the walkie, which in fact, everyone's asking, why did he throw away the walkie? The walkie-talkie barely worked throughout the film. He's not gonna keep it. Technology right now is just not good. Who knows if that walkie-talkie could come around again? We don't know yet. I really liked when he gave that speech and he walked away. And it was kind of a bittersweet ending. That's something I really enjoyed when it came to filming and editing this. And I always find myself rewatching that same scene because everything came together so well. There's nothing I would really change about this film. Maybe there was one scene I had in mind that I wanted a red beam to kind of illuminate Noah at the end of the film. There was a cliffhanger I wanted to leave where the UFO light is beaming on Noah before he runs away and like kind of cuts to black. And that was something that was kind of my inspiration to make this film to begin with, but it never worked out. I didn't have the proper lighting gear, let alone a lot of our shots took place in the daytime, so to shoot at the nighttime was a bit difficult. It just didn't work out. Had I had the opportunity to be able to film that, I would have done it. But in terms of like the way this movie started and finished, there's nothing I would have changed, because to me this film is such a personal project that I'm very glad it worked out. Working with the cast members on this film was a really great experience because I knew everyone who was working with me on this film. Everyone was very personal to me. I wanted to make sure I was taking good care of everyone. LaTavia was actually a really close friend of mine. She's definitely one of the closest friends I have in this project. For such a small part she had in this film, I, shot the idea to her and she was like, yes, I would love to, film with you and basically help me with this project. And I'm very grateful that she was able to contribute to this project and really add her own pitch to it as this character she played, which was June. When it came to finding someone performing as the alien in this film, there's only one person I could have thought of, which was Jose. When me and Jose first met each other, it was a very interesting first impression because we both met each other by wearing Spider-Man suits. And from there, I know he used to cosplay. Right there and then, I was like, well, if there's anyone I know who's gonna wear a costume, it's Jose. And I know he would have performed really great in that role, which he did. Even when it came to the scenes of the alien attacking me, I told him, like, listen, dude, attack me. We tried to pretend and make it look, as real as possible, but I was like, you're gonna have to throw me down. You're gonna have to toss me, turn me, hit me, do whatever you gotta do. And so I hit him up about it, and he was very on board in playing the role. I'm very happy that he was able to take this role seriously and perform the way he did, and he's definitely someone I would definitely keep in mind for any future projects because he's such a talented individual, and I'm very grateful, again, for someone like him to be part of this project. My friend Dom played the Eastern Front guy. It was a very small role, but he was such a great friend of mine and such a mentor that I wanted him to be involved in this film. So for such a small role, I'm glad Dom got to play the Eastern Front man, and hopefully something will come out of that in the future, but that is a interesting part that I wanted him to play. When it came to finding someone for music, it was very difficult because I was looking at other composers I knew when I was, working on machinimas back in the day. A couple of them I was looking into, they weren't really taking my thoughts seriously, and so I went on castingclub.com and ended up connecting with Dakoda, and I had Dakoda send me like a sample of what the Aliens theme was, because that was the first sample he's ever done. And when he sent me that sample of the Aliens theme, I was like, you're in. You're in this film. During that journey with Dakoda, there was a lot of pieces that he was able to pick up on and instantly understand what I was kind of looking for when it came to the emotions of the music. There was times where I had him redo a bunch of sound pieces or just a lot of tracks. There was a lot of tracks I had him redo because there was just certain limitations me and him were probably running into when it came to the creativity of those tracks, and I feel bad because, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work on his end, and there's a time frame we're trying to stick with, and, I'm very grateful that he had a lot of patience with me, and he's just such an incredibly talented person to have with this project, and I could not be more grateful to have anyone perform the way he did with this film. Fun fact, Sean's Demise theme was actually gonna get, I wanted to get it replaced, but Dakoda was like, dude, chill out. Trust me, keep it in the film. It's gonna be great. Because I was on the fence of changing Sean's Demise theme multiple times, and I couldn't quite stick with it. But looking back at it, I'm very glad that he talked me out of trying to get him to change it, because he went through a lot of changes with other tracks to begin with. But I'm glad that's the one track he was like, trust me, just keep it. I'm very glad we got to keep that with the film. But again, Dakoda, thank you so much for your help and dedication and just your imagination to this film. Thank you so much. The reason why Falling Lights behind the scenes was put off for so long was because 2 months after the release of Falling Lights, on September 22nd of 2024, Jared passed away. And I don't think it's necessary to discuss any of the medical stuff that's involved in that, but to say the least, he spent a few weeks in the hospital and his organs shut down. Words cannot describe the grief that I felt during multiple hospital visits and many hours I got to spend with him, hoping for a different outcome. It was such a devastating loss for his friends and family. And when I delivered the news to the Falling Lights crew, it was devastating for all of us because some of them got to meet Jared and, they see the work he put into this film and they knew how important he was to this film. It was very heartbreaking for all of us. Jared was such an incredible person on the film because for someone who's never acted or voice acted really in that profession, he was incredibly talented. And there were times where I was struggling acting, and just the way he improvises and comes up with his own thing was something I envied because it flowed with him. He was incredible. And there was times where he doubted his acting and I was like, dude, no, you're amazing. He was just so incredibly talented that it was almost like I admired every time he performed because it was he didn't have to do many retakes. It was just mainly me who had to do retakes because I was also mainly trying. And he was also nervous in front of the camera, but he just did so well. His dream was to become an actor or a voice actor. And for someone with that kind of passion, I really wanted to give him that opportunity because it was my dream to make my first feature film. And I'm really glad I was able to give him that opportunity as he did for me. He was the kindest person you would just have around in your life. He was such a selfless human being that no matter what's going on in your life, he would always offer you help. He always cared about other people except himself. And it was just incredible. It was just, you don't come across someone like that ever. I wish everyone got to know him because I think they would have loved him. He was one of the best actors I've ever met. And he was an intelligent human being. And he was a good friend. I'm very glad that he was fortunate enough to see the success of the film and to see people cheer him on and to know that his efforts didn't go unnoticed. There's no other person in this film I would have had fill his shoes than Jared himself. Because he did really great. I'm gonna wrap things up. I just wanna say thank you for watching this video and seeing the hard work that we put into this project. It really means a lot to everyone who worked on this film and everyone who just got to see it happen. And we could not be more grateful to have everyone see everything come together in the end. And for anyone wondering that we do have a merch shop, we have posters for the film that's in the merch shop along with certain clothing items that have the Falling Lights title card with my logo on it. It will be in the link below if you ever want to check that out. Once again, thank you everyone who's watching. I hope you have a great day. Yay, first scene of production.
So that way I have more of a reaction to it. Go ahead and test it out. Final day of falling lights. I've been violated.
It's in terms of endearment, like fatty or baby penis.
Oh, God. At least over the past couple days, we're getting a lot of gag reel.
Oh, you're just gonna sit there and think about buttholes.
Oh, come on.
Shit. All you?
Dude, talk about falling lights. Get the fucking gay shit out of here.
He was flossing.
Oh wow, this was an actual pleasure. Such a great time. I can't wait to go home.